Good evening and welcome to I'm Listening. Stay connected. I'm Listening is a 24/7, 365 initiative that works to destigmatize mental health. We've got a great show planned for you. We've got Linke, actress, and also Dr. Jenn, Mann, psychotherapist. And we'll be talking about all things mental health and their intersections with the current COVID pandemic. But I wanted to start the show by talking about something that's touching all of us, and it's making a lot of headlines, and that's race in our current culture. Now, we can't separate mental health from race. All of our different identities, it's called intersectionalism, impact our mental health. So living in our culture as someone of color is going to be a component of their mental health and well-being, just like being gay or trans in our culture is also an important part of our mental health and our culture. We can't always victim blame the people that are on the receiving end of racism or homophobia as though they somehow should survive within those toxic systems in our culture. And so tonight I'm really calling us all to do the work. We have to examine what's going on first off in our homes. In our homes is the first place where we're given an opportunity to really expose our family and our children to diversity and all the different beautiful ways that it exists. So I do want us to see and talk about color. I do want us to see and talk about sexuality and gender expression. The more exposure all of us have to hearing it, talking about it, and seeing it, the better off we're going to be, because the goal in mental health is not just acceptance, because often that's just allowing something. And that's a great starting point. But the goal is celebration. And that means we've fully integrated and we are fully seeing the beauty and the strengths of all the different ways that someone can exist in our culture. So I want everyone to leave tonight's show asking themselves, in what ways in my personal life, in all my relationships, and in the larger institutions and systems that I'm a part of, how can I be part of changing things so as to eliminate all the racism and, of course, all the other things like homophobia and transphobia that exist in our culture? Because it's really, really important that those of us with a lot of privilege on the top of the pile are using our platforms and our power to help dismantle and make those needed changes. And it's absolutely a mental health issue. We can't separate those things out. Now let's switch gears, a lighthearted moment. We're going to be going to actress, comedian, improviser, Linke. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? It's
I'm
so good
doing
to
well.
be here.
So I always like to start out by asking all of our guests right now through all of this, how are you doing and how is your mental health?
I mean, I am alive, and that is some days the best that I can ask for. I'm here. I'm able to show up and be here.
Oh, lost you. Say that one more time. All right, got a little bit of a technical difficulty, so let's see if we can get Lisa back. But in the meantime, we are all at home doing the best we can. So let's circle back and just remind ourselves that right now we want to be focusing on self-care and compassion. And that means letting things look different. Everything in our life is going to be seen differently because, again, we're not working from home. We're not parenting from home. We are in a pandemic trying to also parent. We're in a pandemic also trying to get work done. So, again, we're reducing all that stress of keeping the bar high and keeping up with all the phenomenal activities that those around us are doing. God bless. We talk about it all the time that everyone now is baking and making extravagant meals, running, and not all of us are able to thrive in those ways. And that's okay. So, just talk about mental health. Sometimes we have to keep the bar a little lower for ourselves. I know for myself, I wake up in the day and I set a few goals, try to have a structure in place, but I also leave some gray area for myself to not be able to necessarily accomplish everything and just going loving on myself as far as what's doable. And sometimes it's going to be day by day or week by week or even month by month what we can expect of ourselves. And it's not going to be the same, and that's going to have to shift and change. And just like technology, I think we got Lisa Linke back. Lisa, you back with us? Oh, I see you, but I can't hear you. We're trying. Can we get the audio, you think? We don't know. Lisa, I can't hear you. Oh, no. But we can see you and you're smiling, so that's good. Should we try? Yeah, okay. We're going to try again. She can hear me, though, so that's good. But this is why I love doing a live show. You know what I mean? It's like a metaphor for what we all need to do right now, which is just let go and be present with what's happening. All right. I have a question that came in, though. And for those that want to send their questions in, you can always do so by tweeting with the hashtag I'm listening or by sliding your questions into our DMs on our Loveline IG page. And remember, you can go back and check out all of our past episodes of I'm Listening on alltheradio.com handles. And also we are Channel Q. This first question that came in asks, I noticed my kid was stressed out, and so I let him have a mental health day. And he didn't participate in online schooling. His teacher reached out to me and explained why he missed classes, and she shunned me. Did I do something wrong or inappropriate? No. In fact, I think that that's really a necessary part of parenting right now, which is really honoring your child's mental health, because that's what I'm most worried about, is not people missing out on lessons. We can always try again and keep up, but it's the mental health piece, because that stays with us. That doesn't just kind of diminish as soon as we return to school. So I'm glad you're checking with what your child needs. Not every child every day is going to have the ability, for a multitude of reasons, to really be present and do the online schooling. So I think that that's really great parenting. All right. I think we got Lisa Linke back. Let's see. Lisa, you with us? You're like, I have been this whole time, huh?
It's amazing that I do comedy, and this is just a visual and virtual representation of 2020. So I'm here for it.
Lisa, you're consistent. You know what I mean? The world's consistent. This is what's supposed to be. So like, you're doing what you're supposed to do. I love that. So I was asking you about your mental health, and you were beautiful with your response. You're like, I'm alive. Oh no, we lost her again. Oh no. I was really excited about this interview as well. I have so many things I want to talk to Lisa about. So we're going to figure that out. If we have to bring her back on another show, we will. All right. Luckily though, I have a second question that came in. Let me go to these questions. This question asks, ever since I found out that states are firing scientists who won't manipulate data to help reopen early, my anxiety is driving me up the walls with what other information out there could be manipulated. How do people with neurotic tendencies escape from freaking out over the news? This is a really important question because it kind of hits a lot of different points that we've talked about when we're talking about mental health in this current period of time, which is you do need to limit your exposure to the news. So I always want people to be checking in on that our mental health is directly tied to what's going on nationally or locally in the news. We can't see some of these new studies and findings and not have our bodies internalize some of that distress or anxiety. So number one, yes, limit your exposure to news in general. Two, check in with yourself. If you're starting to feel overwhelmed by what you're looking at or the frequency, take a break, take a pause. There's many people that have shut down their social media for days, and that's so powerfully improved their mental health. But as far as resources, you got to be very thoughtful about where you're getting your news from, because yes, there's a lot of people that have ulterior motives and manipulated the news. So be very thoughtful. Look, the CDC is always a great place to really start with. All right, one more time. Lisa Linke, you with us?
I mean,
it's like you're improvising, right? But you're killing it.
all the time.
How are you? How's your mental health? I'm going to keep asking you that and see if it changes.
Listen, it was great until about 10 minutes ago.
Oh, man.
I am, here's what I love is that my face froze like this. Well, what I was saying was I'm a longtime sufferer of depression and like anxiety. So I had to laugh very hard that I was like, No, I've been diagnosed with generalized anxiety and had bouts of depression for quite some time. So this is challenging, but I do my best to take my meds every day and just try to honor how I'm feeling. Because some days I feel like I can absolutely get up and work and, check in on other people and be of service. And some days I don't want to interface with anybody except my dog. And that's okay. That's enough.
Beautiful. I like the permission giving in there. And also, thank you for the vulnerability. You just said something that we haven't talked about on the show yet, and that was the use of medication as a way to help support our mental health. So thank you for bringing that up.
I don't know how else people are doing it, because I'm alive on this planet thanks to a beautiful cocktail that has been perfected over about 10 years. So I'm going to keep on taking it.
Yeah. Well, it's working well. I want to first start by saying congratulations. You hit a 7-year milestone of LA living. So well done. That's a challenge. And also just looking at your legacy, you've been a part of some really powerful cultural projects.
Yeah. I feel really blessed. I feel so grateful to have had the opportunity to work on some amazing shows. And then also in my service to have participated in some really cool events. Like I spoke in Sacramento at the Get Out the Vote event for the Women's March. That was just such that meant so much to me. And I just feel very, very fortunate. And my friends are really good in that they remind me that I also work very hard. So I'm too Midwestern to really acknowledge the work that I put in, but I definitely will take their help in remembering that I work very hard every day.
I love that. I mean, it's really important. We talk about a lot of this on this show, that the connections we have around us can sometimes hold us up when we can't hold ourselves up. And so it's really good to have a good team.
Yes, 100%. And my support system is very strong, but it's unique. You know, I feel like everybody is going through this in their own way. I'm sure you've talked about this, but you know, I live alone with my dog and I love her so much. I had 2 dogs, but the other one passed away in February, and like he was more of a snuggler. So like this one is kind of like, yeah, go enjoy your pandemic on your own. And, so,
Lisa, I have a cat. So like, I'm with you on that one. She has no interest. God bless her. She just occupies oxygen in the room with me sometimes. You know?
So, you know, I can't imagine having kids. I'm very grateful that I'm not sharing a space with another human being. I'm very grateful that I'm not having to keep children alive. But, you know, I also recognize that like it's been 2 months since I've had any kind of human contact and touch. And it's probably going to be a couple more months before that happens. And there is a real side effect to that, you know? So
yes, thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah.
But you're calling out something that I want people to be able to recognize, which is, you know, again, I'm very cautious to make sure no one is blaming themselves for a natural response to this unnatural thing that's happening. And so you kind of brought that to light, which maybe some people want to check in and say, maybe some of this is a result of isolation or loneliness and touch hunger. Like to go months without being touched is not good for mental health.
Hunger, just kidding. I think that like everybody, it's so hard too, because with my support system is so strong and I've spent so many years cultivating it. And normally when one of us is down, the others can rally, but like everyone on the planet is now in trauma brain. And so I just created this thing that I call the pandemic pass. And, you know, if you have a reaction to somebody either texting something you didn't like or not texting or saying something that wasn't helpful or like, you know, not recognizing where you're at, honey, give them a pandemic pass. And you get the pandemic pass yourself. So like for me, I'm recognizing, boy, I really needed to brush my teeth today. And then I just think about it. And if it feels too overwhelming, guess what? I get a pandemic pass.
I love that.
Because the trauma brain is too hard. It's too hard.
That's right. And that's some of the advice I'm giving couples that are self-isolating together, which is exactly. You laugh because you understand what it's like. Because I'm still doing teletherapy and they're, you know, stuck with each other in ways they haven't around the clock. And so it's what you just said. I'm going to use that word. I'll credit you. But the pandemic pass where let it go. Now is not the time to have those really triggering conversations.
Listen, the divorce rate skyrocketed in Wuhan, China after they let them out. And I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. So, and I just live with myself, you know, and I'm ready to divorce myself. So I can't imagine being in a relationship.
So I wanted to talk about something that came out of an interview I watched of yours. And I thought there was like a really powerful covert messaging in it that you didn't, specifically speak to, but someone was just talking about the process of the difficulty of being an actress and being in LA. And there's so many things we go up against. And you said 2 things. So I want to hit them both because they're both really great. But the one is,
punch, baby.
That's right. You're good at that. The one thing you said is you basically said you keep your head down and you focus on what you can control, which is preparation and execution. And I thought that was a really powerful commentary on just getting through general bumps in life. Can you speak more to that?
Yeah, I've really learned that from, I mean, I think I'm Midwestern, so I think we don't, as a culture, we tend not to, if you hear my dog sneezing, she likes to be a real drama queen. So being Midwestern, you tend not to really regard luck and assume that luck will be a factor. So it's like you work hard and you keep at it. So that's one thing. But then here, when I moved here, I started studying acting at Leslie Kahn and Company. And she really got into my brain about, you know, especially in TV and film in 2019 and 2020. And now who knows what it's going to be like. But you typically get an audition the night before you had to go in, when you used to go in person for auditions. And you didn't have time to like lay on the floor and think about like all the things you wanted to do with it. Like it was just cranking it out. So all I could control was what I could prepare and what I could execute. And it was out of my control if when I went in the room, I looked like somebody who they used to date that they hated, or I reminded them of their mother-in-law and they hated, or it was just before lunch and they were cranky because they hadn't eaten, or it was just after lunch and they were tired and they couldn't pay attention. Like that is out of my control. And so what I can control, and the only thing I can spend my time and energy on, is what I choose to spend my time and energy on. And keeping my eyes on my own paper instead of looking at other people and their journey, because it's just not, it's
Bam. That's it right
it's
there.
crazy making.
Yeah. But I loved you saying
I
that.
apologize.
It's okay. Thank you for acknowledging that. But that was really beautifully said. Like, if you keep your head down and you focus on what your path and journey is, it's going to maybe be far more successful. But then I also cannot not quote this. I love that you also said, what you also do is you slather your special sauce all over your performance.
Hashtag, and that was the end of her career. Just kidding. Yeah. Well, you try not, you can't just do that, right? You can't just show up in LA and be like, here's the funny thing that I do, like, and just do that and expect people to fall all over themselves and cast you and everything, because that's not how it works. And what you need to do, and my background in consulting really helped me, because what you need to do is be the right solution for the right project at the right time. And there are so many things that have to happen in order for you to get in the room to even show them that you're the right solution for this right project at the right time. But beside that, in the room, you may show them that you are the right solution for the right project at the right time, and they still can't cast you. And that's out of your control. So all you can do is become somebody that they want to work with. Okay. You just have to win the room. And then when you win the opportunity to work, you have to win them over so that they love working with you and that they would do anything to hire you again.
Beautifully said. So many life gems in there. And then before we let you go, I also want to just quickly talk about the intersections of mental health and comedy. Yeah, right in there, right? Hit the core of it for you. So talk to us about how you think that those two things intersect each other.
I think that, like, people deal with comedy and trauma in a lot of ways. And for a lot of people, we do it through comedy. And a lot of it is really gallows humor and dark comedy. And for other people, it's, making fun of others. But I think for me, it was a way of making other people laugh and kind of taking responsibility for how my family was feeling and keeping them happy and engaged. But also, I do think it's a little bit of a chemical thing, because I know the first time that I got a laugh in like a school play, that was the hit of a drug that I never wanted to stop, and making a room full of people laugh is something that is so precious to me, and I would give anything to do. And I really miss in this time right now, I miss the community aspect of like performing and teaching and being in a room with people and making them laugh. So I just think for a lot of people, it's easy to do comedy. It's easy to do drama. It's hard to do comedy. And because drama is just kind of easy to tap into, and the writing is very simple and straightforward. And comedy, you really have to understand the joke. You have to understand why the writer thought this was funny and kind of see like what they're making fun at. And then to do satire on top of it is just like a greater understanding of how our society is working as a whole. And for me, I'm just a very tender heart, and I've learned that because I'm an Aquarian, I'm an Aquarius. I've moved to LA. I've lived here 7 years now. I can say that. I feel everything, and I really feel for the community. And I don't know how dare a friend call me in the middle of this? I don't know how else to deal with it other than to make a joke about it.
Right.
But it's also, that was really,
that's also, no, I thought that was really stunning. And I think what's in there also is not only that it was powerful for you, but I think humor right now is a powerful gift that you offer us because it's a resource for us. I mean, what a beautiful way for us to make sense of what's happening, take a break from what's happening, and also just find some joy, because that's also something I'm prescribing is like, watch the news as much as you need to, focus on self-care, but also find some joy.
It's so funny. Today, I had a friend from Bless This Mess who texted a group of us, and she has a old friend whose wife is working in New Jersey at a hospital. And she just said, would you be willing? She forwarded her text, this woman who's a nurse, and she said, I have a guy was working in the Air Force, and then 4 years ago he got leukemia, and he was being treated, and it got better, but then he got COVID, and he can't have his treatment. And the leukemia is just ravaging his body, and he's now intubated, and he's probably going to be gone within the week, but he's communicating via writing. And what he's doing is just watching all of his favorite comedies. And his family was just wondering if we could get anybody to send him like a 30-second comedic message. And so Lennon sent this out, and we just immediately, a bunch of us just dogpiled on because we have nothing to do.
Yeah.
And so we sent 30-second messages, and like, I was happy to do it, but also then afterwards I just had to cry about it because this is so horrible. But yeah, if there's anything that can bring anybody any joy, I'm here to do it.
Well, and you are. Let's talk about Go Help Yourself, the podcast. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I love the premise. A lot of self-help is a hot mess, so I think there's a lot of material built in.
It's a flaming garbage dumpster. The industry is 11 to 13 billion, and everything from like Excel for Dummies all the way up to The Secret qualifies as self-help. Yeah. So my good friend Misty Stinnett called me one day and she said, I think I'm going to start a podcast about self-help. Do you like it? And I said, can we cuss on this?
No. Yeah, well, kinda. Go gentle.
I said, I bleeping hate self-help.
Okay.
But I didn't say bleeping.
I believe it.
And so she said, okay. And I said, but I think there might be a fun premise and a balance. So basically, it's a comedy self-help podcast to make life suck less. And each week, one of us has read a popular self-help book or kind of a fun, unique one when we need a break. And we present it to the other host. And then the other one listens as the audience and asks questions.
Oh, wow.
And it's like within an hour, you'll know some main points of the book. And also if it's a good investment of your time and money, or if it is a hot, flaming pile of garbage that you should avoid. And if I don't condone burning books, but if you happen to have one and a match, maybe burn it because it is not good for the planet. Well,
I'm with you. Look, I spent a lot of my career fixing and correcting the poor self-help that people have internalized. So you're doing comparable work to what I'm doing. So I appreciate you being in the trenches with me. And leave my book out of it, please.
Wait, no, I would be happy to, and we'd be happy to have you on. Come on.
All right, I'm
sure
in.
You're not
Seriously.
Say things like just speak it into the universe and it'll happen. You'll never say something.
Not my thing, but I'm happy to be on the show. Lisa Linke, thank you so much for being on my show and for everything you're doing.
Thank you for sticking with the internet.
Thank you. Take care. Be well.
Bye. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Oh, technology. I'm glad we have it. It's giving us access to a lot of amazing tools and tips and resources. It's helping us stay connected. It's also can be a little bit of a frustrating nightmare, but let's build on that. Make sure you are staying close and connected, at least 3 other people a day, especially in ways that you can make eye contact. Because again, a lot of loneliness, and as Lisa was talking about, some people are isolating literally on their own and have not seen or been touched by people in months. And that's really hard on our mental health and our physical health. So we're kind of doing the best we can, right? This isn't forever. So we're still trying to kind of follow the rules, stay in our lane, connect in ways that are safe. And remember, the safe ways to connect, because it's all about harm reduction. Not everyone can have the same expectations upon them, are meet individuals, if you're going to spend time with someone else, outdoors, 6 feet apart, wearing masks for limited periods of time, not near crowds and not in enclosed spaces. I know it's a mouthful, but it's all about keeping it quick, it distant as much as possible. All right, now let's go to Dr. Jenn Mann, psychotherapist. She's been on the show before. Welcome back, Dr. Jenn. How are you?
I'm good. Great to see you. How are you?
I'm doing well. How's the baking going over there?
I am baking up a storm. I don't know if you've seen my Insta story. I've made matcha bread now 4 times.
Delicious.
God bless Chef Chloe Casarelli.
Yes.
I baked cookies. I am a woman who did not bake before this. I did not cook, but I'm expanding my horizons.
That's what you had said last time. I was so proud of you. I haven't quite gotten there yet, but you got the bar high for me. So, right now.
If you want any recipes.
Oh, I do, especially for the matcha.
Okay.
Yeah. But right now, a lot of people are having to encounter and have a new relationship with themselves, their body, their work. And Zoom and the use of Zoom is kind of hitting all 3 of those. So we're now seeing new forms around, but also triggers around body dysmorphia, and Zoom. Walk us through it.
Also, what's amazing is it's not just body dysmorphia, because, look, obviously, if you are someone who has had an eating disorder, struggles with body dysmorphia, has something, especially on your face, that you fixate on, if you're just a kind of an obsessive person, then this is going to be a challenge for you. But also, people who are just not used to being on camera are really struggling. I got a call from a friend of mine who's like an A-list writer in Hollywood, amazing guy, does yoga, saying, I'm really self-conscious doing Zoom. I am distracted by how self-conscious I am. And it can be very, very challenging for people to get used to the medium and also to kind of tolerate seeing themselves as they are doing a meeting. It can be very distracting.
And you kind of just put an interesting other layer added to it, which is it's not just that you're distracted by your distraction, like that complexifier. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember the first time I ever did the Today Show, At the time, Matt Lauer was a host, and we did, it was remote. And so there was, the camera and you see a reflection. And I remember I'd never done it before. And I could see my reflection. I was so distracted by seeing myself that I looked like a crazy person. Like my eyes were
Deer in
all over
headlights.
the screen. But it was worse than deer in headlights. I looked so shifty because my eyes kept being drawn to the movement when I would see myself moving. So I look like an insane person. So it can be very distracting just learning how to handle seeing your reflection, not reacting to it, even if you don't have those issues. Then throw in on top of that someone who fixates on a body part or on a facial feature, or who has issues about their weight or their body, and it can be a recipe for disaster.
And what's interesting also is just in listening to people that are in my practice talking about their experiences of Zoom and whatnot, some of them were saying things like, a lot of this doesn't even need to happen, where some of these things could just happen over phone or email. And so should we be setting boundaries and making requests for different ways of holding meetings?
Well, I don't believe it, as you know, from my baking and cooking. I don't believe in not expanding our horizons because we're scared or we're anxious. To me, it's an opportunity. I like to look at whatever happens, especially right now in a pandemic, during a difficult, stressful time, as an opportunity to grow. So to me, to say, I don't want to do a Zoom meeting because I feel self-conscious or I can't stop fixating on this part of myself, is to miss an opportunity to work on yourself. So I would say no. To me, the idea that, we could be doing all of this by phone, the more connection we have right now, the better. And Zoom is a way to connect. Face-to-face contact, even if it can't be in person, is a good thing right now. There are so many people who are so isolated, especially singles who are staying at home by themselves and are isolated. This is actually an opportunity for a little social interaction and a little eye-to-eye connection.
Oh, I like that reframe. I mean, I'm similar in that if someone tells me, that intervention or homework or whatnot makes me feel anxious, I'm like, great, we're doing it then. That sounds like it's the right thing.
That sounds like exactly what you need. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. And if they're like, that sounds very doable, I'm like, let's crank it up a little bit then.
That we are totally on the same page.
Now, do you think that there's anything to also like, I was thinking about this on the drive-in, like a boundarylessness where you're kind of bringing your boss and coworkers into your home and they can maybe see what's behind you and around you. Does that factor in, you think?
Well, I think that we have to be aware of that. And, whether it is that you have some like naked picture behind you, like even if it's like classical art, is that what you want associated with you and your brand at work? Is that something that might make someone else feel uncomfortable? You don't want to have a sexual harassment situation because you have like naked pictures of someone behind you while doing a Zoom meeting with colleagues. So I do think that we have to be aware. I also do think that there is an intimacy factor of having people in our home. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I'm watching the news right now and people are doing their broadcast from inside their home, I am looking around going,
100%.
What's the artwork? Like,
100%.
That one has a really nice cat. That one could use a little decorating. I wonder how much she's earning. I wonder how much
we just spiked everyone's anxiety about going back on Zoom. You reminded them of what we do.
But the reality is that it is intimate. It is having someone in our home. But the good news that can hopefully quell some anxiety is we can control the image. That we can control what they are seeing. You can choose to do it from your bathroom, which would be a bad choice, or you can choose to do it from your kitchen or your bedroom. By the way, a bad choice. I know a teacher who did a Zoom class from his actual bed, and a lot of kids were talking about it.
Oh,
and he had his clothes on. It just was not an appropriate choice,
right.
And showed a boundarylessness that is not good to demonstrate to kids.
Well said. All right. So take it as a moment to try to grow and work on yourself, see the value in just connecting with others socially, and be thoughtful of what's made visible around you. Great tips. I like it. All right, Dr. Jenn Mann, as always, thank you so much. Good luck with the baking, and I'm hitting you up for recipes ASAP.
I can't wait.
All right, have a great night. Thank you so much. You know, this is what's happening this time. A lot of new emotions and experiences are coming up. And like Dr. Jenn Mann said, I agree with this fully. Use it as a time to expand ourselves, to have more choices, to be able to maybe tolerate more, checking in with ourselves, make sure we're not overwhelmed and flooded because, you know, change and transformation is all about staying within this little window of tolerance where it's making us a little anxious. And that lets us know that we're being challenged and we're growing and expanding, but not so much so that we're overwhelmed and flooded and possibly traumatizing ourselves. So it's all about that healthy level of anxiety that you want to seek. And right now we're having a lot of new opportunities to challenge ourselves. I'm all about it. I'm doing that in my own day-to-day. Where are the areas I need to grow? And that's reflected back when we have some fears or anxieties. So yeah, do the work, man. It's powerful stuff. All right. We'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I always flip that. You can check out all of our past shows on all of our radio.com handles. You all have an awesome, beautiful night. And as always, thanks for hanging out.